So as what was mentioned, my name is Eddie Cochran, and let me first say that it's truly an honor to have the opportunity today to really just share some of my personal experiences and story with you. I don't take your time or attention for granted, and in fact, I've been very impressed with this entire class since I've come, several hours ago. Just the level of engagement, the questions you guys have asked, it has been extremely inspiring for me as well. So let me first say that I definitely appreciate you all and what you do every single day to kind of go towards creating a future for yourselves. So let me start by kind of walking you through some of my experiences, and then at the end of it, I actually have a few words of wisdom and some points of advice I'd like to leave you with. So hopefully you walk away today feeling inspired by my personal story and motivated to create your own. So, the start of my story may be actually very familiar to a lot of you. In fact, it may be very similar to yours, and that is, I was raised by a single mother. I was raised in a pretty rough neighborhood with very humble beginnings, so didn't have a lot of money or resources. However, what I lacked in material items, I more than made up for in the amount of support that I received from the loved ones and the ones that cared most for me. So that's certainly something that I had working in my favor despite my environment and the things that I experienced early on in my childhood. Now, just to kind of walk you through some of my family structure. My mom, she had 5 sisters, so I grew up with 5 aunties. So as you can imagine, I had lots of cousins. And of my aunties, my mom was one of 3 to actually graduate from high school and actually went on to college. Now, she actually didn't graduate college until after I started college, so it was an inspiration to her to have me go to college, and she was inspired to actually go back and complete her degree. So I was very proud of her for doing that. On my dad's side, it was a little different. Of course, I didn't grow up around my dad's side of the family, and I'll explain a little later why. But on my dad's side, he had 7 brothers, 3 sisters, all of which graduated from high school and college, and 4 of which actually became engineers. And of those 4, one of them was a female, so I had an auntie that's an engineer. My father was an engineer, and I had 2 uncles who were also engineers, including one of those uncles who went on to become Blue Angels and was actually the first African-American pilot of the Blue Angels. So he actually had a lot of great accomplishments that the family is very proud of. So the unfortunate thing, and again, unfortunately, this story is all too familiar for a lot of people, and that is my parents did separate when I was only 5 years old. So that obviously left a hole. There are certain things that maybe I could have done or should have done in terms of having that steady foundation that I wasn't exposed to. However, as I mentioned, I had very supportive people around me, and they were both still very supportive. My mom even more so. She taught me how to use setbacks and life circumstances, as determination and that fire, to ignite that motivation to keep you going and to keep you, whenever you feel like you've hit that end of that road and there's nowhere that you get beyond that point, or you've reached some invisible glass ceiling. She taught me through, her humility and her strength to continue to proceed, in the face of adversity. So I'm very, humbled for my mom and the experiences that I've learned through her. Now, during my high school years, I was maybe a B average student. School came pretty easy for me. However, I was distracted. I was distracted by my environment. My focus was split. I was somewhat focused on sports and girls. So I didn't perform as well as I should or could have. However, when I was removed from my neighborhood, the area that I was most comfortable with, and I was put into a nurturing environment by going to college, by going to school, and surrounded around professors that actually looked a lot like me and that cared tremendously about me, I expanded in ways I didn't think was possible. In fact, I quickly went from a B average student to an A student at the top of my class. And again, that was from drive, determination, and just an overall interest. I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed learning. So what I'll say is, it wasn't all, easy, of course. College certainly presents its challenges. And I'll say first semester was by far the roughest. And the reason I say that is because you're removed from a structured environment, one that you're comfortable with, one that's familiar to you, to an unknown territory. For me, it was 4 or 5 hours away from home, from everyone that I've known. But again, as I mentioned, it was a very nurturing environment. And, I actually took the opportunity to really grow. With any pressure, with any change, you either rise to the occasion or you don't. So I took it as an opportunity to really do what I need to do and create my own path. And of course it takes integrity, most importantly, to do those things that you ought to be doing when you feel there's no one there to watch you, to really be there to motivate you day in and day out, to get you to study, to get you to come home at decent hours and do what you're supposed to do. But don't get me wrong, college is extremely exciting. From the fraternities, the sororities, the parties. I mean, it's fun and it should be, because it's a part of your life that you'll never get a chance to relive. So it is important that, while you're learning, while you're there to, expand your mind and to grow and to develop a career, ultimately you're also there to have fun, to enjoy that part of your life. So attending, FAMU, which is a historically black college, was by far the best decision that I'd ever made. Just to be surrounded and taught, by professors that truly cared for you. It taught me a sense of pride, and also the confidence to conquer anything, that was put in front of me. I actually ended up graduating from FAMU, FSU College of Engineering, with my bachelor's in electrical engineering, with honors in 2000. And of course, that was the same year that 2000 was very busy for me. It was also the same year not only I started my career, but also that I married my high school sweetheart, which is actually sitting in the back of the room there, filming you. So we had actually been, we met and were dating ever since I was 15 years old. So it was awesome to grow with her and to expand with her as well. As I mentioned, we had our second daughter. So my second daughter, my daughter is also here, Kayla Cochran, and extremely proud of her too. Now my son, again, my first child, my son, he's Trayvon. He's 20 years old, so he's actually in Seminole State College right now, pursuing his physical therapy assistant career, and my daughter will soon follow, as she's also interested in being in the medical field. But right now at Seminole High School, she's also in the medical program there. She's on the track team, so she's actually a state champion. So very, very proud of her. Now I started my career, after graduation, moved away 9 hours away from home to Raleigh, North Carolina, a state that I'd never even visited before. So there was a lot of nervousness built in with that, just kind of uprooting the family and moving to a place that you knew nothing about, no family, no support structure in place. However, again, I had the strength, that was kind of built through, life, hard work ethic, and the humble beginnings that where it all started. But what was important was that transition that I knew I had to make. That transition from the collegiate environment to the corporate world. And of course, that in itself presents some challenges, because you go from being surrounded by family and professors that have your best interests at heart, who want to see you succeed, to an environment where it's very competitive in nature. People are sometimes competing for the same positions, or the same promotions, even in different places in society. So there's competition all around, and again, it was through the hard work ethics that taught me to compete and thrive even in those circumstances. Now, what I also want to share is, I learned a lot, just kind of making this transition. One of the most important things that I learned was to be slow to speak and quick to listen. Now, I think when you're growing up and you're young, you're eager, it's very easy to, be very quick to react. You want to be in the moment. We're passionate. I think as most teens and you grow into your 20s, you are very passionate. But it is very important to make sure that you use some diplomacy and understand that, there's nothing more important than your reputation. And as Corey mentioned earlier today, it sometimes takes an entire career to build a reputation, but it only takes one bad decision to tear it all down. So it's very imperative that you bring your A game every single day, and that you always carry yourself with dignity, because you realize that you're not just representing yourself, you're representing others like you that have come before you and that will come after you. So in order to make the road easier and better for them, then you have to play your part to contribute just as those have come before you have played their role. So I'd like to now kind of move on to some of my career because that again is I think a reason why you all are here to kind of hear as far as, well, what does it actually take to be an engineer and what are some of the things that you've had to go through. So I'll start by just kind of sharing. I started out in a design group. So as I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, I started as a design engineer. And again, just fresh out of school, I'm using just engineering theories that I had learned, mostly in engineering school. After a short period of time, after about a year, I transitioned to an engineering role, where I was actually implementing the designs that I had previously designed. So I was actually building. Not only was I building, but I was performing a lot of the testing the electrical circuits within those substations. So that was the group I worked in. So it taught me a lot. After that, I actually moved to Florida. So this is in Raleigh, North Carolina. I moved to Florida, and while in Florida, I became an engineer at the nuclear power plant in Crystal River. So, Derek, we were talking about generation earlier. It starts with generation and production of energy to the transmission to ultimately breaking it down to a distribution level where it serves customers. Well, I've worked in the generation department as well as transmission, so I understand a vast majority of how the company works, by understanding working in different departments. But what I'll say about that, that taught me a lot as far as working in generation. But soon after that, I did transition back to transmission or substation as a lead engineer. So in a span of 8 years, I'd gone from an assistant engineer with no experience to, in 8 years, I was now a lead engineer, reviewing the work of all other engineers, including engineering consulting firms. So I, through hard work, through promotions, worked my way up the ramp and got to that level, in 8 years. So after that first 8 years in a very technical engineering type role, I was inspired to kind of take a shift and move in more of a management role. So for the next 8 years, I had actually spent my time working as a manager. And in this management role, I actually was responsible, I was a regional manager, so I was responsible for about 150 employees throughout the state of Florida. So I had supervisors, engineers, relay technicians, and admin personnel reporting to me. So a great responsibility to the people that looked to me for advice and for guidance. So I certainly took that with the respect that it deserved. So while in leadership, it gave me a great opportunity to now shift my focus not on myself and my own personal career, but in developing others, into the people that they ultimately want to be themselves. So I got into mentorships, mentoring employees, as well as mentoring college students. So great opportunity to watch people grow. In addition to doing that, I also got an opportunity to build a training center. Now this training center, it allowed brand new technicians an opportunity to kind of work in an environment where they're able to test and to hone in on their skills and develop skills that they wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to do because, as what was mentioned, we worked in what could be a dangerous, most certainly a hazardous environment. So we can't always make mistakes because some of those mistakes can be very deadly. But by creating this safe environment for them to learn and to make those mistakes, they're able to develop those skills that are needed, especially to fill this workforce that don't have as many. Did you have a question? Okay. All right. So continuing on that, in addition to the training program, I had also partnered with Lake Sumter State College to build a 2-year engineering technology program. So fortunately, and I'm actually proud to say this, they graduated their first class May. So last month they graduated their first class. And the intent of that, of course, is to develop more technicians and substation electricians, in our industry that desperately needs it. So I was able to, again, convince one of my supervisors that had retired to be the director over that program, and now we're off and running. So very proud of that program as well. And I expect to see great things from them. Now, so the past year, as I mentioned, 8 years in an engineering technology role, 8 years in a management role. Now this past year, I've kind of rolled out of a formal leadership role into a more corporate oversight type role. So now I'm involved with working on corporate initiatives. So looking at the company as a whole, making decisions that impact the entire company. Things from building training programs to building tools to ensure that we're complying with regulatory laws and rules, to performing auditing, to make sure that we're performing most efficiently, and that if there's any deficiencies that do exist, that we can make some improvements so that we all work better, smarter, harder. So those were a few of the things that I'm currently, involved with now. So now I guess I would like to leave you with some words or some advice, and I have 4 points that I would like to leave you with. First, maintain a physical, mental, and spiritual balance. That's very important. Physically, you want to make sure that you are always have a very balanced diet and exercising regularly. You want to also make sure that from a mental standpoint that you're managing your stress level. Stress is inevitable. There's no getting away from it. What's important is how you manage that stress. So there's several different techniques and ways. A lot of it's driven on personality types, but I would definitely encourage you to focus on that. That and continuous learning. I pride myself off being a student of life, and I try to constantly learn something new, whether it's going to YouTube University. I'm not sure how many of you look up something on YouTube and learn how to do something or build something, but I refer to it quite regular. Or listen to podcasts, reading books, whatever your source is always important to always continue to learn each and every single day. And of course, your spiritual growth. It's important to always reach your higher power for guidance. That creates that balance in your life. That is so important. Now, who in here I guess listens to J. Cole? Listen to J. Cole. So there's a verse where he says, "Believe in God like the sun up in the sky. Science can tell us how, but they can't tell us why." So as you go to college, you're going to be exposed to a lot of different types of beliefs. But I would definitely encourage you to find one that focuses on a higher power. All right, the second point of advice I'd like to leave you with is create a life plan and goals. Anything worth having is worth methodically planning. And we don't always think about developing a life plan. At least I didn't. This is a concept that's actually pretty new to me. But if you think about it, it's extremely important. For example, we all make very important decisions like buying that first house or buying your first car or even going back and getting your master's degree. Well, these things just don't happen. And if you just kind of dissect one of those examples for, and let's use buying your first home, for example. When you buy your home, you have to plan years in advance. It requires you to save money. It requires you to have a good credit score. In order to have a good credit score, obviously you have to make sure that you're paying your bills on time. So there's lots of things that you have to do that goes into the planning of getting what you want out of life. But in order to get what you want out of life, you have to plan for the things that are important to you. So now, of course, I'll have to say that life don't always, work the exact way you want it to. That's to be expected. And for those times when they don't, I like to now borrow a quote from Kendrick Lamar, and he's someone that I'm actually inspired to also. And he says, in the moments when things don't always go your way, we all get distracted. The question is, would you bounce back or bounce backwards? So it's important to understand that setbacks will sometimes happen. But what do you do after that setback occurs? Do you take it as an opportunity to continue to grow, to thrive, to use it as an opportunity, or will you allow it to truly stop you in your paces and not move forward? So that's very important words to live by. The third item I'll leave you with is plan for retirement at the beginning of your career, not the end. If you think about it, at the end, it's already too late. And if you don't want to work for your entire life, it is important that you are making smart investment decisions. I would encourage, and you guys are getting ready to make these decisions as you begin to go to college, graduate from college, or start your first career. I would encourage you to, if there's a company match, for example, at your company, I would fully go in because, again, not only are you investing in your future, but your company is helping you. So you take 4%, for example, out of your paycheck, it goes towards a nest egg that you're creating for yourself, but the company also matches that amount. So as you go through life and gain a paycheck, you're now expanding, your net worth and your retirement fund. So I would do that, as well as other things, as far as investing in mutual funds, buying real estate. I mean, there's lots of ways of diversifying, but planning for retirement at the beginning, not the end. And the fourth point I'd like to leave you with is find a way to pay it forward. And that is by getting involved with the community, with different charities. And, for example, a couple of charities that I'm involved with that I'm, again, very proud of is I volunteer with Habitat for Humanity. Again, just kind of volunteering my time to help others, families in need, build a home, to Meals on Wheels, just donating my time to help provide meals to those elderly that are shut in and maybe can't, drive and get food, or maybe not financially in a good position to do that. So just finding ways to get involved in your community and reach back to pay it forward. So whatever college, university, or even trade school you choose, or whatever profession, career, or dream you decide to chase, I would definitely encourage you to just make sure that whatever you do is something that you can be proud of, is something that you put thought into, and it's something that you can truly know it makes your time here on earth worth spending. So I'll actually leave you with the final quote, and I'll leave this one. This is actually from the late, great Tupac Shakur. And he says, "Happy are those who dream dreams and are ready to pay the price to make them come true." So I have any questions?